God, I missed you so much.
And that was when she finally lost herself. Leon's lips brushed against hers. No longer rough but fiercely tender, filled with longing and care. His mouth explored hers, as if memorizing every corner, every soft response, every tremor in her breath. Slowly, his kisses trailed down her jaw, her neck, her shoulder, while his hands gently slipped under her blouse. Carefully, almost like a ritual, he undressed her, one piece at a time, with reverence, but also with an aching desire. Kylie trembled, not from the cold, but from the fire spreading over her skin with every touch, every kiss. She closed her eyes as Leon's fingertips traced the curve of her waist, moving up, down, painting heat across her entire body.
Heart's Audio Library presents Hired to Be in His Arms, a novel by Honey Hearts. But before I start the story, kindly hit the subscribe button and also hit like if you like the story. Thank you.
Each drop of rain felt like the tick of an old clock, slow, heavy, and hard to escape. Night after night, this was Kylie Beckham's world, by the underpass. She was a shadow in the city, blending with the cold wind and the smell of wet cardboard.
Kylie, will you be going home later?
Asked the woman next to her, as she hung out in front of a 24-hour convenience store. It depends if I find something tonight, she replied. She wore a hoodie, carrying a basket with her goods, cigarettes, candy, and prepaid phone cards. She wasn't begging like others, but to most people, she was just another lost soul, a street dweller. She never imagined she'd end up here. She used to be the most well-known debutante of their place, the daughter of a former mayor, a graduate from an exclusive college, and with dreams of becoming a diplomat. But a scandal destroyed everything. Corruption, fraud, embezzlement. Her father disappeared without a trace, leaving them with debts and shame. From the high life, their world fell into disarray. Now her mother, once a socialite, was hooked up to an oxygen tank in a makeshift room in a shack. And Kylie? The once future queen of society? She was now a ghost of her former self.
Be careful, okay? There are a lot of drunk people tonight. It's payday,
the woman said. Kylie nodded, but she knew the danger was just beginning. As soon as she stepped out from under the overpass, she saw him, a man in a suit and tie, drenched in the rain, obviously drunk. He was sitting on the sidewalk, holding his cell phone, yelling into the void.
What's the point of having millions if you don't have anyone to trust?
He shouted into nothing. She was about to walk past him, but she saw 3 shadows approaching. She knew their move. Thieves. She was familiar with the rhythm of the streets. She didn't need to get involved. But before she could stop herself, she walked up to him. "Hey, is something wrong?" she asked, pretending to be concerned, throwing an arm around the man. "Come on, I've been looking for you for a while now." The man was startled.
Who are you?
Shh, smile. A lot of eyes are on us. Let's go. She saw the 3 men step back. Good. Her acting skills still worked, even if her life was already in ruins. She pulled the man inside a 24/7 cafe.
Miss, I don't know you,
he whispered as they sat down. You don't need to know me. Right now, you're safe." The man furrowed his brows. His eyes were deep, and his watch was expensive. He had a cut above his right eyebrow.
The name's Leon.
He said, extending his hand.
Leon Thomas.
A chill ran through Kylie's body. She knew that name. This was the man who, among other things, had been one of the reasons the entire Beckham clan crumbled. Kylie couldn't move. It felt like she had been hit with a block of ice as she sat in front of Leon Thomas. Leon Inigo Thomas. One of the heirs of Thomas Holdings, the company that took over all the projects and contracts left by her father during the height of the scandal. To the public's eye, a hero. To Kylie, a vulture.
Kylie, is it really you?
He asked after recovering from his surprise.
Kylie Beckham, is that right?
I don't know what you're talking about, she quickly replied. You've got the wrong person. Leon smiled. Even though he was drunk, his gaze was sharp and clear.
Even if you crawl in the streets, I'll never forget the daughter of the man who almost ruined the entire city, especially with a face like yours.
Kylie stood up. If you're safe now, I'm leaving.
Wait.
Leon grabbed her arm, but it wasn't rough.
Why did you save me earlier?
Just being human.
No, you're smart, Kylie. You wouldn't act without a reason. So tell me, what do you need?
Her chest tightened. I need $1 million cash for my mother's treatment. I need a house, a normal life, justice. I need a fresh start. But she said none of these things. Nothing.
Do I look like a fool to you?
His voice was cold. Kylie closed her eyes. No matter how much you hate my family, I don't need your pity.
Good, because what I'm offering isn't pity.
He stood up and pulled out a card from his wallet.
Come to this address tomorrow. Apply. There's an opening at the main office of Thomas Hotels. Personal assistant. I need someone sharp. Someone who knows how to survive.
Kylie laughed bitterly. You just said, I'm the daughter of the man who almost ruined the city. And now you want to hire me?
Exactly. No one better than someone with a debt to repay and anger towards the system.
Kylie clenched her fists. What kind of game was this? I don't need your dirty money.
Too bad.
Leon whispered, then turned away.
But if you ever change your mind, don't pretend you don't recognize yourself. Because no matter how much you hide, you're still a Beckham, and you're a valuable asset.
The next day, with the heavy rain, empty medicine bottles, and nearly no food left at home, Kylie stared at the calling card. Her mother had a fever. Delirious. There was no money for a doctor, no one to turn to. In the end, it wasn't anger that brought her to the Thomas Hotels office. It was hunger. When Kylie entered the executive wing of Thomas Hotels, she could hardly believe it. Marble floors, polished brass handles, quiet air conditioning that seemed to whisper. This was not her world. But now she had to look like she belonged. She also couldn't believe she was accepted right away. No interview, no HR. Just one signature from Leon on a handwritten memo. And here she was, personal assistant to the one person she should not be serving.
You're punctual.
Leon greeted when she entered his private office on the 28th floor. I'm not used to traffic, since I always walk, she replied without a smile. He smiled, but there was a glint of challenge in his eyes.
You still speak the same way, fighting spirit.
Is that still how you see me? The daughter of a criminal? Leon stood from his leather chair and walked toward her.
Actually, now, I see you as someone who can keep up. And that's what I like.
Kylie couldn't help but notice it again. The way Leon moved, the way he looked at her, as if searching for something wrong in every move she made. It was as if she were the pawn in a game, and the pieces were slowly falling.
To add on, you still have that strong presence.
Leon continued, a hint of teasing in his voice, but with a sharp tone, like he was testing her.
Why can't you look me in the eye properly? It's like you're holding onto a pride that, no matter how much you try to hide, I can still feel.
What do you want to say? Huh? Kylie retorted defensively, even though she knew it wasn't wise to act that way. She wasn't used to games like this. This wasn't the world she grew up in. But she needed the money, and she couldn't refuse Leon's offer. Not yet. You're in a position to make my life a joke, aren't you? Leon smiled, and behind his smile, Kylie saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes.
You're right, Kylie. I know you don't like the situation. But isn't it your life that's on the line here? If you want to live, you have to play my game.
What? You want to make me a pawn in your game? Kylie shot back, her voice rising, but she still gave him a sharp look. She was already carrying a heavy load and didn't have time for people like Leon to show off.
Looks like you're getting annoyed.
Leon responded, sitting back down behind his desk.
Okay, let's not make this personal. I know you're not comfortable with this kind of thing, but here's the deal, Kylie. I need a personal assistant who can keep up. You can't let your anger cloud your mind. You need to focus.
And what kind of focus do you want me to have? Kylie exploded, losing her composure. This is just a job, not a game of life and death. Leon chuckled softly with a slight laugh in his tone.
Ha ha ha! It's a game, isn't it? In this world, you can't go around without a plan. You can't go around without anger. You need to have at least a level-headed approach if you want to succeed.
Maybe, Kylie said, her tone still full of doubt. That's why your life is so great. You have money, a business, everything. While I'm here at the bottom of it all, struggling, falling as I can't even get back up. She slowly approached the desk, while Leon watched her with eyes that seemed mocking.
What hurts you, Kylie, is that you're not used to having nothing.
Leon said, his words trying to tear her down.
But here's what I want to ask you. Do you still want to continue living this life?
And what if I don't? Kylie responded, trying to sound tough, but her heart was quickly filled with a heavy sadness. What if I don't want to continue being a slave to anger that I can't do anything about? Leon's eyes softened for a second, but then he looked up, let out a deep breath, and looked at her seriously.
Kylie, no matter how angry you are, no matter how much pain you feel, and no matter what battles you face in life, all you can do is fight. If you don't want to end up like others who've lost their opportunities, this is your one chance. I'm not forcing you, but admit it. You need this.
Kylie fell silent, the words sinking deep into her heart. She couldn't struggle anymore. So, what do I do? She asked, her voice tinged with pain. Her mind and heart were in conflict, but she knew she couldn't let this opportunity slip away. Leon grinned playfully, but there was weight behind his smile.
It's simple, Kylie. Just focus on your work. Follow what I want, and I'll show you how to be more successful. Your anger won't do anything but hurt you. But if you choose to be smart, I'll help you.
Kylie sighed deeply. She knew she had no choice but to follow Leon. She needed the job. She needed the money. Fine, she replied, unwilling but knowing there was no other choice but to submit to Leon's offer. I'll play your game, but that doesn't mean I'll follow everything you want. Leon gave her a smug smile.
That's all I need to hear, my dear.
Each day for Kylie began with questions and commands that she couldn't refuse. Things that went against her will, but that she had no choice but to do.
Kylie, my report for tomorrow, I need it now.
Leon ordered while holding a paper and staring at his laptop. He didn't even acknowledge her, as if it were natural for him to give orders.
5 minutes.
But Leon, I'm not done with... Kylie started, but Leon cut her off.
5 minutes.
He repeated, his tone indifferent to any excuse. Kylie struggled to breathe, but she began typing. Sometimes she wondered if Leon was doing this just to toy with her, but she knew she couldn't complain. The eyes of her co-workers were always on her, ready to speak ill of her if she made a mistake. So she chose to just get along. She had to adjust. She couldn't afford to lose. One day, while she was organizing papers in a meeting room, Leon called her for what seemed like no special reason.
Kylie, I left my coffee in my office. Get it.
Leon said, his eyes never leaving the documents he was holding. He didn't even glance at her face. He didn't face Kylie. "Can I focus first?" Kylie replied, noticing she was holding back her anger in her voice. "I'm in a meeting."
Ha ha ha, focus!
Leon laughed, as if it meant nothing.
I thought you were the one supposed to handle everything around here. You wanted this job, right? So get me my coffee or...
"Or what?" Kylie shot back, even though she knew she had no right to speak like that. "You'll just push me aside, and then what?" Leon raised an eyebrow at her, his voice calm but cold.
Or I can find someone else who's more willing to do the simplest tasks like getting coffee. Maybe you can go back to the street corner?
Kylie felt a pang of humiliation. She bit her lip and forced herself to say nothing. She complied, passing by the small pantry to get the coffee. As she walked through the hallway, the eyes of the other employees were on her, some with pity, others with mockery. She wanted to scream, to say something to defend herself, but she had no strength, no rights in their eyes. When she returned to Leon's office, she handed him the coffee. No thanks. Leon just accepted it and continued with his work, as if nothing had happened. She couldn't believe it. What had happened to her? She wasn't used to this, taking orders, having no control over her life. Yet here she was, becoming a prisoner to Leon's commands. Every afternoon, she had to set up meetings, audit documents she didn't even know about. Things that went against her logic and were beyond her control. Sometimes there were moments when she thought she might be given a chance to breathe, but no. There was always an order, always something unfinished. At night, as she walked home, she wondered where she had gone wrong. How did she become a slave to a man full of cruelty and arrogance? How had she let herself be swept up in the game of life that she herself had created? A week passed. The days were always filled with heat, her body always tired. But Kylie, despite her inner struggles, knew she couldn't rebel. She couldn't afford to lose her job. She needed the money. She needed the work. One afternoon, after another long day of work and Leon's relentless demands, Kylie sat in a corner of the office, her eyes filled with exhaustion and sorrow. Sometimes she thought she could learn from all of this. But how long would she wait for everything to change? How long would she endure endless suffering? And most of all, how long would she remain a slave to the orders of someone who didn't even value her?
Good job, Kylie. You've been keeping up. I think you're getting the hang of this.
Leon said from his desk, his tone almost seeming to relish in tormenting her. Kylie didn't answer. The fatigue and pain she felt were far stronger than anything Leon had said. Those days served as a guide to where she had ended up, a painful path, full of trials, where she had to endure and sacrifice. She agreed, because she had no choice but to follow. She wasn't ready to explode yet. Because of the exhaustion and Leon's commands, Kylie's first weeks at Thomas Hotels weren't easy. But despite all of that, there was one thing that reminded her why she kept going. Her dream of improving their lives, especially her mother's. Finally, the day she had been waiting for arrived. Her first paycheck. She was in the office of Thomas Hotels, and her salary had been deposited into her account. When she got the notification, she couldn't stop the thrill she felt. This wasn't just any paycheck. This was the first step toward her new life. She no longer had to worry about her mother's medical expenses. The money had come, and it felt as though a light was shining once again in her world. She hurried to the hospital where her mother was bedridden. She was still wearing a hoodie, but now carrying a large bag full of fruits and food. Things she could never afford before. But now, her heart was light knowing she could show her mother that she wouldn't have to suffer anymore. When she arrived at the hospital, The nurse immediately greeted her and led her to her mother's room. She saw her mother lying in bed, her face showing a mix of sadness and longing. But when her mother saw her, a smile spread across the older woman's face.
My dear, what did you bring?
Her mother asked, though her words were a bit strained. I brought your favorite fruits, and I've got some delicious food too. Kylie replied, her heart filled with happiness, even though she knew the things she brought weren't enough.
How wonderful. But anyway, you don't need to worry anymore, my child.
Her mother responded, her eyes overflowing with joy.
I'm happy that your life is getting better, even just a little.
Kylie paused and began telling her mother about her new job. She didn't mention that she was working for Leon, choosing to keep that part to herself. Her mother didn't need to know that. What mattered was that she was seeing a good opportunity ahead. I've got a good job now, Mom. I don't have to worry anymore because I'll be able to help you. We won't struggle with expenses anymore, Kylie said, forcing a smile, even though she still couldn't bring herself to say the whole truth.
That's so wonderful, my child. I'm so proud of you.
Her mother replied, her eyes full of happiness.
I know you've always been strong. You can do this, my dear.
Kylie didn't respond, but just gave her mother a tight hug. She still couldn't shake the fear that the life she had now might not last. But what mattered was that in those moments, in front of her mother, she felt that all her efforts had meaning. The exhaustion, the sacrifices, everything now had a purpose. That day ended with her not feeling lost in sadness, but with a smile on her face. Yes, she was tired. Yes, she still had a long way to go. But in those moments, Kylie realized that all her hard work hadn't been in vain. All the struggles, all the sacrifices would eventually bear fruit, and she was no longer like before, walking in the dark of uncertainty. Now she was walking toward a light of hope. After receiving her first paycheck, everything changed for Kylie. She was no longer the same. Someone who was always thinking about how to survive, how to get through each day. The new mindset she had developed became her strength as she went to work every day. Even though Leon's demands were still intense, and sometimes the tasks given to her seemed impossible to finish in the time given, she no longer succumbed to exhaustion. Instead, she became more determined. Each command from Leon was like a challenge that pushed her to improve herself even more. Even the nights when she had nothing else to do but research to finish reports became easier for her. One day, while looking at the documents on her desk, Kylie realized that the tasks she used to find so heavy weren't as difficult anymore. Before, she would have gotten frustrated and irritated, but now, she felt that despite the struggles, all of this was for a better tomorrow. She was no longer afraid of the challenges. Instead, she learned to embrace each one, even if it came from Leon. With each passing day, Kylie felt the change she was slowly experiencing. No matter how painful, no matter how heavy, she kept telling herself, I need this. I need to persevere for my mother, for myself. The tasks given by Leon became easier. And not only that, Leon himself noticed the change in her. There were times when looking at her, he seemed to be observing her deeply, wondering what had happened to Kylie. She was no longer like she was on the first day, full of fear and weakness.
Kylie,
Leon called one morning.
I noticed something. You're different. You're not as easily frustrated anymore. Seems like you're getting the hang of it. You're handling things better than before.
Kylie noticed the tone of Leon's voice. It wasn't sarcastic, but there was a hint of admiration. It's nothing. I just want to finish everything that needs to be done, Kylie replied, her eyes unmistakably showing a hint of happiness. She wasn't sure what impact her words had on Leon, but inside, she felt like there had been progress. Even though she was still being burdened by Leon's orders and challenges, those words were proof that she was no longer weak. Weeks passed and Leon's commands continued. But now, Kylie felt differently. With each challenge, she found strength. The painful orders had become just another part of her day, because she knew that with every step, she was moving closer to a better life.
Good job today.
Leon said to her after they worked together on a difficult project.
It's nice to see you not just surviving but thriving.
That simple praise was something she had never experienced from Leon before. Even though it wasn't a formal thank you, she knew it meant something. And despite all the hardships and struggles, despite being a slave to Leon's commands, work was getting easier. As the weeks went by, the dynamic of Kylie and Leon's relationship changed. There were times when Leon would seem concerned when he saw Kylie being given back-to-back tasks. He no longer saw it as just simple orders. Instead, he became more sensitive to the condition of his personal assistant. One afternoon, while Kylie was busy working on a report for a big project, Leon noticed that she had been working for hours. The thrill in Kylie's heart from the praise she received in the past days helped her keep going, but she knew she couldn't keep up this pace forever. Sometimes the workload would exhaust her, but she wouldn't stop. However, when Leon saw her eyes growing tired, her body slumping, and it seemed like her strength was running out, he realized that this wasn't right.
Take a rest,
Leon said when he approached Kylie's desk, his tone full of concern.
We don't have anything urgent to finish tonight. The deadline is still tomorrow.
Kylie was surprised by her boss's tone. I don't think I've finished the report yet, she replied, still in disbelief at how Leon was speaking to her.
Don't use work as an excuse to stay up late. The deadline is tomorrow,
Leon said, as he cleared some papers off Kylie's desk.
Go home. You need to take care of yourself too, not just work all the time.
Kylie shrugged, feeling confused by Leon's words. But, sir, I still have a lot left to finish.
Enough.
Leon said, his tone serious but gentle.
You can work tomorrow. If you stay up late now, you might not be able to handle it tomorrow.
As Kylie walked home, she reflected on the change in Leon's treatment of her. Before, all he showed was strictness and what seemed like endless commands. But now, she saw a side of her boss that she hadn't expected. He did care, and he no longer just saw her as a tool to get the job done. In the following weeks, their relationship became lighter. It was no longer just orders and challenges. There were times when Leon himself offered help. Sometimes he gave her tips on how to make tasks easier. And when Kylie dropped the ball on something, he didn't let her suffer alone. There were even times when Leon embraced the idea of not overworking. While Kylie was learning to balance the demands of her job, Leon was learning that aggressive leadership wasn't always necessary. He no longer pressured Kylie into working endless overtime, and he became more open to her needs. Like that day, she wasn't afraid to rest or explain her time limits. Thank you, Sir Leon, Kylie said while packing her things into her bag. I feel better, and I've learned the value of rest. Leon smiled, though the smile was small and subtle, as if he wasn't used to showing such gestures.
Just take care of yourself, Kylie. Work is important, but your health is more important.
In those simple words, Kylie felt something she hadn't expected from Leon. Respect and care. She was no longer the Kylie who always hesitated and feared the commands. Now, there was a mutual understanding between them. She was no longer just an employee to Leon. She had become an important part of the team, and her well-being and excellence mattered too. And despite all the challenges and hardships at work, Kylie had learned to accept that every day, it wasn't just work that made life worth living. Sometimes, the changes, even in how we interact with others, have a deep impact on how we see the world and our dreams. One evening, while Kylie was waiting for a taxi outside the building, she felt the darkness slowly creeping in and the air turning colder. It was starting to rain, and the strong wind was causing blisters on her hands. Along with the other employees, she stood by the side, trying to find a taxi. But after waiting for several minutes, she heard the sound of a car stopping in front of her. She turned around and saw a familiar car. It was Leon driving.
Kylie,
Leon called from inside the car.
hop in. You don't need to wait. Looks like it's going to rain.
Kylie hesitated and thought about whether she should accept Leon's offer. Concerns were swirling in her mind. After all, they weren't personally close, and she wasn't entirely sure about Leon's intentions. But as she watched the sky darken and felt the chill of the wind, she realized the rain was about to start if she waited for a taxi. It might take a while before she could get home. Finally, she decided. "Okay," she replied, walking toward Leon's car. Leon didn't say a word as they drove down the road, and Kylie silently gazed out the window. A little while later, the car stopped in front of a coffee shop.
We're here.
Leon said, opening the door and getting out to lead the way.
Coffee?
Leon asked, as if there was no concern in his voice. Confused and a little nervous, Kylie had no choice but to follow. "Okay," she said, not bringing up the unexpected offer to have coffee with him. When they entered the coffee shop, Kylie was surprised to see the simple tables and the cozy ambiance. They kept a little distance from each other in their seats, and unlike their usual work meetings filled with business, it felt like they had a chance to talk without any pressure. As they sipped their coffee, Leon began to share a funny experience he had from a corporate event the previous year. He had signed the wrong document and had fallen in a meeting where he was the facilitator. As he told the story, Leon laughed at himself, and Kylie found it hard not to laugh as well.
And then,
Leon said,
when all the chaos was over, it was my secretary who fixed everything. If it weren't for her, I probably wouldn't have a job in the company anymore.
Kylie couldn't help but notice Leon's expression as he recounted the story. He wasn't the typical unreachable person. His laughter, as well as his openness in showing his humanity, was unexpected for someone in such a high position. She smiled slightly, and without realizing it, the things she once avoided, the quiet distance between her and her boss, were slowly becoming easier to handle. They talked to each other without Kylie feeling any gap between them. "I didn't think you'd actually laugh at your own mistakes," Kylie said, a little embarrassed, afraid she might seem rude. Leon raised an eyebrow at her.
What's wrong with laughing at my mistakes? Everyone does stupid things at some point. It just makes you more human.
Kylie looked at Leon a little longer. This type of conversation rarely happened. As they enjoyed each other's company, Kylie found herself slowly forgetting the formalities she usually kept. Instead of trying to avoid or recount work details, she felt the atmosphere lighten. It was as if there was no weight in the air. It felt like their smiles gave a new meaning to simply spending time together. "Do you always have this much fun with your employees?" Kylie asked, worried her question might seem odd.
Only the ones who can take a joke.
Leon replied, finishing his coffee. Because of the unexpected camaraderie that developed that evening, Kylie didn't even notice that she was actually enjoying herself. They revisited stories and laughter, and despite the unforeseen opportunity, Kylie found herself happy not just because of the stories, but because of the company she was with. Even though she wouldn't admit it to herself, she found herself wanting to spend time with Leon again someday. Not as boss and employee, but as two people who were friends. In the following weeks, Kylie felt lighter every time she went to work. She no longer worried about Leon's commands or the difficult tasks he gave her. Instead, the days they spent together at work became smoother and more natural, especially as they began to develop a friendship. Their relationship was no longer just that of a boss and employee. Little by little, their interactions became more comfortable. Kylie, who once tried to avoid Leon, had learned to accept his quirks, and at times, even found herself laughing at his stories. Meanwhile, Leon, who had once been strict and serious, became more relaxed and considerate towards Kylie. They often spent lunch breaks together, talking about things unrelated to work. One afternoon, as they were walking home from lunch, Kylie asked Leon, "How do you find time to relax, given all the pressure you're avoiding?" Leon smiled and answered,
I guess it's just about balance. Not all pressure needs to be on your shoulders. You just have to learn how to manage things. You know, like what you're doing.
Kylie laughed. "So, do you think you figured out the balance in life?"
Well, I try,
Leon replied, chuckling.
but I think you're getting better at it too.
But it wasn't only work that had changed. While each day was filled with stories and laughter, the best and most important news for Kylie was her mother's recovery. After weeks of care, her mother was finally discharged from the hospital. Although she was still recovering at home, she no longer required harsh treatments or constant care. Sometimes Kylie would help with the little things, and she could see that their days were becoming much easier. One day, while watching her mother sitting comfortably in a chair at their home, Kylie noticed the smile on her mother's face. "Mom, are you okay now?" Kylie asked, her heart overflowing with joy.
I'm fine now, my dear. I know we've been through a lot, but we're strong enough to handle it.
Her mother replied, her eyes full of happiness. As Kylie navigated the days of her mother's recovery, she learned that every hardship they faced had a corresponding reward. She not only learned to overcome pain, but also the relationships and changes in her life. She herself had grown as a person. As each day became easier, Kylie learned that she was no longer afraid of life's challenges. She knew she could overcome any trial, as long as there were people who trusted her, and moments when each day felt lighter because of simple conversations, helping each other, and laughing in unexpected moments. One day, when Kylie came home from work, her mother noticed something. As she walked toward her room, the older woman approached her with a bit of an unexpected, heightened emotion.
Kylie!
Her mother called, her voice filled with anger and shock.
I saw you earlier. Leon Thomas dropped you off, didn't he?
Kylie was caught off guard and didn't respond immediately. She knew she couldn't hide anymore. She had known for a long time that she was caught. There was no escaping it now. Her mother stared at her, her eyes full of anger and disbelief.
Why, you still have a connection with Leon?
Her mother shouted.
Haven't you learned anything from what they did to us? Didn't they ruin our family's life?
Kylie fixed her gaze on the floor, unable to look at her mother's intense reaction. She knew this wasn't easy, and there was no way to hide the truth. "Mom, enough," Kylie said, trying to hold back the tears. "Yes, I still have a connection with Leon, but I can't keep hiding it. He gave me the job, and he gave me the chance to make it through." Her mother couldn't believe what she had just heard.
So that's the reason? He's the one who made your life better?
Her mother shouted, her face torn with pain.
I can't stand to see you like this. I can't bear to see you doing well, but you're spending your life with someone who has no soul. Isn't it enough what Leon's family did to us back then? If that's not enough for you, then what kind of daughter are you?
"I'm working hard for you, Mom," Kylie replied, her voice shaking. "All my sacrifices, all my struggles. I'm doing this for you. I can't lose you. So, if you really want me to, I'll quit my job. I will resign." Kylie saw the fear and anger in her mother's eyes.
Kylie, if you don't resign, I'll stop taking my medication. I can't go on if your life continues with Leon.
Those words felt like a punch to her heart. She was terrified of her mother's threat. She couldn't lose her mother. What was the point of all her sacrifices, all the pain she had endured, if it would all be lost? She couldn't bear it. Okay, Mom, she answered, her voice sad, filled with fear and sorrow. I'll resign. After submitting her resignation letter to Leon's office, Kylie couldn't escape the feeling of emptiness. The days of helping, of friendship, of change. Everything suddenly seemed to unravel. When Leon saw her resignation letter, he couldn't hold back and approached her in the office.
Kylie?
Leon said, his face filled with pain and shock.
What is this? Why are you resigning? I thought everything was going well between us. I thought we were getting along. Why are you suddenly leaving?
Kylie couldn't look at Leon. She knew she couldn't explain the real reason. She wanted to tell him that she was afraid for her mother's health, and because of her threat, she couldn't continue. But she couldn't say that to Leon. She decided to pretend instead. I thought everything was fine. I saw the things I wanted. I got what I needed, and maybe this doesn't benefit me anymore, Kylie said, her voice hard. I just played your game, Leon, and now I'm done. Leon walked closer to Kylie, and she could see the sadness in his eyes.
I thought everything you showed me was real, Kylie. The help you gave at work, the conversations, the laughs. I thought all of that was real, but now, it seems like you were just pretending.
Leon, I don't know what you want to hear, Kylie replied, almost in tears. But I can't do it anymore. I need time for my family. Leon looked at her, his eyes filled with pain and confusion.
So, all that time, it was just a game for you?
I didn't mean to, Kylie answered, her voice turning cold. But I really have to make a decision. Leon stared at her, and then turned away, unable to say anything more. He was exhausted from everything they had been through, and now he felt like he had lost the chance to have a real friendship, or something more. As she walked away, Kylie felt a pain in her heart, but there was nothing she could do. The decisions she made were for her family, and she wouldn't regret them. But there was one thing she couldn't shake off, the pain of losing someone who had become important to her, even though she didn't fully understand how or why. Days passed, but the heaviness in Kylie's heart refused to fade. She should be happy. She had gotten back at him, hurt Leon before finally walking away. But why did it feel like this? Why, instead of relief, did the weight in her chest seem to grow heavier, pounding harder than ever? While she isolated herself in her sorrow, her phone suddenly rang. Leon was calling. Her brows knitted. She hesitated for a moment. Just for a second. Should I answer? But curiosity, or maybe anger, or the pain, won over and she picked up the phone, pressing.
Kylie?
Noah's drunk voice greeted her. Hoarse, rough, laced with bitterness.
Come here right now.
What? What are you talking about? She replied coldly.
Your last job, you messed up. Damn it, if you don't fix this, I'm filing a complaint. I'm not wasting my time. I'll make sure you rot in jail.
He spat, his voice hard and threatening. Kylie gasped. Leon, are you serious? Just because of that job?
I'm not joking.
He snapped.
Fix it now.
Her lip quivered as she hung up. Her fingers trembled. Fear crawled through her veins. In the end, she decided to go. When she arrived at Leon's condo, the door swung open before she could even knock. The scent of alcohol drifted out from inside. And before she could utter a word, he grabbed her, pulled her inside, and pinned her against the wall. Leon, what are you doing? She gasped. Leon didn't answer. Instead, he buried his face in her neck, his kisses trailing hungrily along her skin, his arms locked tightly around her body. Let me go, she whispered weakly, almost breathless. But even as she struggled, she couldn't deny the shiver that coursed through her, not just from fear, but from the heat slowly creeping into her body. With every desperate kiss he planted, there was a part of her that wanted to hold him back, to respond, to feel him.
I miss you, Kylie.
He rasped into her ear, voice cracked and desperate.
God, I missed you so much.
And that was when she finally lost herself. Leon's lips brushed against hers, no longer rough but fiercely tender, filled with longing and care. His mouth explored hers, as if memorizing every corner, every soft response, every tremor in her breath. Slowly, his kisses trailed down her jaw, her neck, her shoulder, while his hands gently slipped under her blouse. Carefully, almost like a ritual, he undressed her, one piece at a time, with reverence, but also with an aching desire. Kylie trembled, not from the cold, but from the fire spreading over her skin with every touch, every kiss. She closed her eyes as Leon's fingertips traced the curve of her waist, moving up, down, painting heat across her entire body.
You're beautiful.
Leon whispered as his lips traveled between her breasts.
Like a dream I never want to wake up from.
Kylie clung to the back of his neck, pulling him closer, her lips seeking the kiss he had left behind. Her hands roamed his back, feeling the strength of his body, while her own senses surrendered to his whispered words, to every hungry kiss on her skin. From her chest, his lips traveled lower, her stomach, her hips, as he slowly removed the last of her clothing. There was no rush, every second deliberate, as if he wanted her to feel she was not just some plaything, but a woman he had longed for, loved, dreamed of.
Tell me if you want me to stop.
Leon murmured, locking his gaze with hers.
I will never force you, Kylie.
You don't have to ask, she answered, her voice trembling. I want you to, Leon. All of you. Their bodies met again, bare of clothing, bare of doubts. In every moan, every touch, every electric brush of skin, the world around them faded. The anger, the fear, the hesitation. None of it mattered now. Only them. Kylie's arms tightened around him as Leon slowly entered her. Like a homecoming, like acceptance. A soft gasp escaped her lips, a blend of yearning and connection, as they moved together in the rhythm of longing and love. It was slow at first, tender, as if dancing away the pains of yesterday. But as the thrusts deepened, as the embrace grew tighter, their movements quickened, their moans, their breaths blending into one.
I'm right here, Kylie.
Leon whispered against her forehead, kissing it gently.
I'm not leaving you no matter what happens.
And when they both reached that peak of heat and emotion, they let go together. A breathtaking explosion of desire, of emotion, of love they had both tried so hard to deny. Afterward, they lay tangled in the silence. No words were spoken, but the beating of their hearts said it all. I love you. Today. Tomorrow. And no matter how hard the road gets. Epilogue. 2 years had passed since the night their hearts had fully surrendered to each other. During that time, they quietly but wholeheartedly forged their relationship. Far from the noise of the world, far from painful memories. There was no more sabotage, no more hiding. All that remained was their true love, peaceful, strong, and real. It wasn't easy. There were still nights filled with worry, questions they had yet to answer, especially in front of their families. But as time passed, with each step of loyalty and respect, the once hard hearts slowly softened. They gradually became legal. Little by little, they were accepted. They were listened to. They were loved. The old wounds from their past began to heal. Their families started to forgive. Not because they had forgotten the past, but because they had chosen to leave it behind for a better present. At a simple dinner in Leon's home, now more homey than corporate, they all ate together with their parents. There was laughter, conversation, and between it all, the glances of peace, as if saying, "You made the right choice. Your love is right." Kylie held Leon's hand while sitting beside him. 2 years, she said softly, watching the joyful scene before them. Leon smiled and kissed her on the temple.
And with each passing year, I'll still choose you, Kylie.
There was no need for grand gestures or dramatic speeches. All that was needed was the quiet truth that they were happy, whole, and finally accepted by the world. And under the moonlight on that night, they knew a new chapter had begun. Not as two people who fought against each other, but as two hearts that chose to love, hold on, and move forward. No matter how many years, no matter how many trials. The end.
Thanks for listening. And again, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit like if you liked the story. See you in my next audio story. More power.
Lighten up, take me on your magic river. Tell me all your dreams align. Sign me up and tell me about the people that you know who are trying to feel alive.